Imagine this. You are a ruler, powerful, wealthy, at the top of the world. Your empire numbers millions of subjects. Cities glitter with gold. Priests are ready to sacrifice hundreds of hearts for your well-being. And then, a handful of bearded strangers arrive, smelling of gunpowder, brandishing strange sticks, and now you are a prisoner in your own palace. Your warriors are helpless. Your power has collapsed. Your empire has turned to dust. Sounds like a fantasy plot, doesn't it? Or some insane dream. But this is an absolute 100% reality that happened to one of the most powerful rulers of his time, Moctezuma II, the last Aztec emperor, a man whose story literally overturns all notions of how the world can even be structured. This is the story of how one of the greatest empires of pre-Columbian America fell to, well, let's call a spade, to a bunch of Spanish cutthroats who were barely making ends meet themselves. Seriously, if this were a movie, viewers would say, "What nonsense! That doesn't happen." Yes, the Spanish had cannons. Yes, they had horses, creatures unknown to the indigenous people, which terrified them. But imagine this, 150, at most 200 men led by some nobody, against millions of Aztecs, against an army that numbered tens of thousands. This isn't even a battle of David and Goliath. It's just some surreal circus. And yet it happened. The Aztec Empire collapsed. And the most striking thing is that it happened indecently fast. In a matter of months. How is this even possible? Is it just about technological superiority? Or is there something else? Something far more complex and even, perhaps, a little eerie. In reality, technological superiority is just the tip of the iceberg. Yes, muskets and cannons caused a stir. Yes, horses seemed like monsters. But let's not forget that the indigenous people weren't idiots. Adapting to new weapons and tactics is a matter of time. And the Aztecs would have had plenty of time, if not for something else. Imagine a huge, flourishing empire. Gold flows like a river. Temples rise to the sky. Priests perform ritual dances. But beneath this gleaming facade lay a darkness that the Spanish, unwittingly, used as a perfect staging ground for their blitzkrieg special operation of conquest. The thing is, the Aztec Empire was, well, let's just say they weren't the most popular among their neighbors. They were harsh, very harsh rulers. Yes, they built roads, created an advanced administrative system, but they did so by relying on constant conquests and, most importantly, on a tribute system that squeezed the life out of subjugated peoples. And the most disgusting item in this tribute was not gold, not corn, not precious stones. It was people, living people, for sacrifices. Yes, my friend, the Aztecs were one of the bloodiest empires in human history. Thousands, tens of thousands of hearts were torn from the chests of unfortunate captives on top of their ziggurats. This was not just a ritual, it was a tool of control, intimidation, and, strangely enough, a tool that sowed the seeds of such hatred that ultimately led to their demise. Imagine this. You are the ruler of a small but proud tribe somewhere on the outskirts of Aztec territory. Every year, you have to send your best warriors, your children, your neighbors, to be slaughtered. Every year, you live in fear that you will be chosen next. And then, on the horizon, some strange bearded foreigners appear. They are few. They behave strangely, but they hate the Aztecs no less than you do, and they offer an alliance. What will be your choice? Continue to be a cash cow for bloody rituals, or take a risk and join these madmen who at least offer a ghostly hope for freedom? That is exactly how the Spanish, led by Cortés, were able not only to survive in this unfamiliar, hostile world, but also to gather a real army under their banners. Tens of thousands of Indians who hated the Aztecs so much that they were willing to fight under the leadership of strangers with firearms. The key word here is hated. This hatred was the soft power that proved to be far more destructive than any muskets. Cortés, that cunning fox, quickly caught on. He saw this crack in the foundation of Aztec glory, this pain, this accumulated rage, and he masterfully exploited it. He didn't come as a conqueror, at least not at first. He came as a liberator, and many indigenous peoples, tired of Aztec oppression, fell for it. They saw a chance in the Spanish, a chance for freedom, a chance for revenge, and they were willing to pay for this chance with blood theirs and others. So, you see, it wasn't just about technology. It's about a complex intertwining of factors: fear, ancient prophecies, psychological pressure, and, of course, the internal contradictions of the Aztec Empire itself. Moctezuma, this unfortunate ruler, found himself trapped by his own faith, his traditions, and, most ironically, trapped by the very rigid system his ancestors had built. His empire was a colossus with feet of clay, a colossus ready to crumble, not only from powerful blows from without, but also from a gentle push from within, amplified by centuries of accumulated resentment and thirst for freedom. And all of this led to one horrifying, yet, when viewed globally, practically inevitable outcome. But that's for the next part. What happened in the very heart of the Aztec capital? And why did Moctezuma, seemingly with every chance of victory, lose the most important battle of his life? Well, let's imagine Moctezuma, the ruler of a mighty empire. Not a fool, not a coward, as he is often portrayed. He was a priest, a warlord, a politician. He was a product of his system, a system that had functioned perfectly for centuries, relying on fear, conquests, and, yes, human sacrifices. He believed in the gods. He believed in prophecies. He believed in the invincibility of his people. They are unlike anyone he has ever seen. They have strange animals, strange weapons, a strange world view. And, most interestingly, they fit the description of ancient prophecies about the return of the god Quetzalcoatl, the very feathered serpent who, according to legend, was supposed to return from the east. Moctezuma, like any leader faced with something incomprehensible, first tried to understand, then to control, and then, when control began to slip away, to use. He welcomed the Spaniards as guests, gave them gold, tried to appease them. He thought they would leave, satisfied with the gifts. He didn't understand that for Europeans, gold was not just a beautiful metal. It was power, a means to an end. They had their own god's gold and God, and both demanded worship. Cortés, seeing this hesitation, this mix of fear, curiosity, and arrogance, coolly continued his game. He exploited every tiny crack in Moctezuma's worldview, every superstition, every prophecy, every internal conflict within the Aztec elite. And suddenly, this gigantic colossus, the Aztec Empire, proved to be extremely vulnerable. Vulnerable not so much to foreign muskets as to his own demons, to the discontent of subjugated peoples, to the internal strife of the nobility, to the religious fears of their ruler. Cortés did not conquer the Tenochtitlan Empire. No, he slowly, step by step, undermined it from within until it began to crumble on its own. He did not break down a locked door. He found a secret passage that was opened by the Aztecs themselves. And this story is not just a lesson about how a small group of people can destroy a vast civilization. So, what happened in the heart of the empire? Moctezuma remained within his cultural paradigm, while Cortés operated outside of it. This is what proved decisive. This is not a story about how the brave Cortés defeated the foolish Moctezuma. No, in part, he was killed by his own prejudices, his own beliefs, and, strangely enough, by his too deep understanding of the world, which prevented him from transcending its boundaries. The Aztec Empire, like many great civilizations, fell not only to an external enemy, but also to internal contradictions and an inability to adapt. So, friends, the story of Montezuma is not just an ancient legend. It is an eternal story about the importance of being able to change, how dangerous it is to ignore new realities, and how sometimes our greatest strengths can become our main weaknesses. And who knows, perhaps Montezuma, after death, understood that his empire fell not by swords, but by a lack of understanding. And that, perhaps, is the bitterest lesson of all.